Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Hang on, that's a bit far out, isn't it? There we go. Here we are, how are you doing? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. With me, the Angry Bootneck. It's the 31st of August. Huzzah, payday for most people. Party time, eh? You can spend your pittance that you get after you've been taxed and taxed and taxed, taxed till your balls drop off. And then if you invest the money after it's been taxed 8 times, and you make some money, they tax you again. Brilliant. It's it's got so bad the last few years. I think I'd rather be skinned. I've decided. I've got a decent job, but I think I'd rather be skinned. At this point, I'm getting so pissed off with paying taxes to lefty arseholes so they can bomb schools. I think I'd rather be skinned. Put me on the rock and roll. I'm going to go to the Mick Philpott School of Economics. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, who's in? Far too many of you to get a name drop, but I will do the important people that joined the team. Professor Andy, how you doing? Denise, hello. Testy, all right. Davy Parker, now then. Kate, thanks for moderating as usual. Pylord, how are you? Who else is in? Ams, now then. And everybody else. Happy to see you all. Crikey, 250 already. Mike Holliday's emigrating because he's wise. Very sensible, Mike. Is it Gyro Day yet? Oh, I always used to remember a Tuesday night in the borough, Belmont. It was dull night. Great night in the Belmont on Tuesday. If you could walk across the dance floor without getting chinned, you were a better man than me. Old Bags in Nottingham, England. So, yeah, welcome. Nottingham. Liked it there as well. A black fella lived underneath me when I was living in Nottingham in a little one-bedroom flat. He didn't work for a living. Funny old thing. Yeah, weird that, isn't it? You hear all this, outright lies about how immigration's good for the UK. If you're in 2024, if you honestly think that mass immigration is a net positive to the UK economy, you have got a head full of fresh air. I don't even know what to tell you. I read some statistics this week. They reckon we're spending $4.5 billion on like hotel rooms for them. Like, I don't even know. Even if a tiny amount of them did some work, I don't know how many menial jobs you'd have to work to pay £4.5 billion in tax. It's unbelievable. Like, it must be bankrupting us. It must be. If I was to throw a number out just from reading, what I read and probably minimising the cost down there, it'll be at least 5 or 6 billion just for feeding, clothing and housing them, and then council houses, and then NHS and healthcare and education, and then people, the minuscule pittance of income tax you pay when you're doing minimum wage jobs, because they aren't rocket scientists, are they? It must be 50 billion. It must be 50 billion a year it's costing us. Bankrupting us. Yeah, most of them yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. How much tax do you pay if you work for Deliveroo? Really? Bob Hunter, thanks for the deep sea diver. Screw mass cultural diverse enrichment, or is it simply an invasion? Oh, it's definitely an invasion. And it's on purpose. If you listen to them, this is what I keep telling you. All you have to do is listen to them. They'll happily tell you what the plan is. The religion of many, many pieces, they love telling you. They're like the lefties in America who couldn't contain themselves after they cheated and stole the 2020. Although you can't talk about that, can you? They all kick off if you talk about that. We'll have to use more synonyms. It's a good job I've got a capable grasp of the English language. I'd run out of synonyms. What can we call it? Political machinations to ensure the victory of the gentleman with the piss-sodden underpants. Yeah, you're allowed to say that. They wrote a Time magazine article about it, and I read the Time magazine article out on a video, and they banned my channel for 2 weeks. This is back before, this is like I'm talking about the insanity of the woke left now. They think they can just outright lie to your face when you're old enough to remember the event that you're talking about. Like, I'll say that to someone and they'll go, no, that's lies. No, they didn't censor anyone. I was like, it was only in 2020, you maniac. Like, what do you think? We all got pissed for 4 years during the pandemic years and now we've all forgotten everything. It wasn't even that long ago. They're absolutely mental. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. They're like Dr. Evil. They have to tell you what they do. They cheated, and then they wrote a big Time magazine article about it. It was on the front page of Time magazine. And then I read it out verbatim and got banned for 2 weeks for it. And now in 2024, they go, definitely wasn't cheating. Definitely wasn't any cheating. Nobody said there was cheating. And we didn't censor you and we didn't shadow ban you. And I was like, what? You literally did all of those 4 things within literally 4 years ago? And again, I don't like the overuse of the term literally, but you can say it when you are talking about literally 4 years. Remember, you don't literally die. Oh my God, literally dead. You can't be literally Hitler unless you're Hitler. Yeah? That's a hard one for young people to grasp. I was talking to a young lass at work last week. I shit you not. A 26-year-old college graduate. This is the mad thing. It's mad how you turn into your dad, innit? It's mad how you turn into your dad. When I was young and my dad was trying to tell me things, and I used to laugh in his face and be like, yeah, what do you know, old man? It's the circle of life. When you're 20, when I was 23, my dad told me to buy Microsoft shares. And I was like, what do you know, old man? I'm going to buy some fucking Nike Air Max. Yeah, cheers then. They ended up in the bin with spew on them 2 years later. Imagine what I'd be worth if I had a grand's worth of Microsoft shares back in 2003. But the thing is, when you're young, you think you know everything. And I was having a minor discussion with this lass, and I said it's like Benito Mussolini. And she laughed and went, pfft. Like you could see her scoffing when I was telling her that we don't live in a meritocracy anymore. And one of the examples I used was, I was talking about how the Metropolitan Police used to have a height restriction, and we used to hire the strongest and the fittest and the fastest. And now we don't. Now we hire little fat women, and then we wonder why the surprise sex purveyors, right? Some lass gets dragged down an alley for a bit of surprise sex from an obliging migrant. And when he gets caught conker deep in his latest victim by a little fat police dwarf, a little fat police dwarf with a minge like a gutted fireplace and an arse like the back end of a double-decker bus, when she interrupts him, funny old thing she can't catch him. Yeah, weird that. And I always talk about my mate Richie, because he's the guy who left like a year before I did, and he applied for the Metropolitan Police, and they wouldn't have him. He was like, I'd never say it to his face, but he was like the epitome of a bootneck. I'm a little bit shorter, a little bit fatter, and a little bit airier. He was tall, buff, handsome, fast, perfect, 6'2", biceps like sacks of smashed gravel, long legs. It'd be a perfect bobby. And they were like, no, we don't want military types. We know what you're like. Let's roll out a little fat dwarf. What's she going to do? What's she going to do when Stormzy's mates are windmilling with a machete or a meat cleaver in the middle of the street? Nout. That's what she's going to do. Bob Hunter, Boots, British Organisational Oversight Biodiversity Society. Thankfully, I have no idea what that is. I'm blissfully ignorant, Bob, but I appreciate the beer money. Now they have the 2-foot Terminator that weighs 300 kilos. Unbelievable. I seen a policewoman, literally about a week ago. I was looking at a story on the BBC and it was showing all these bobbies responding to the Notting Hill Carnival. And the woman at the front on the photo was a heffalump. I don't know what the technical term is for a bird who looks so fat that to shag her you'd have to roll her about in flour and look for a wet patch. She must have been 20 clem. She must have been 5'2" and 20 clem. Unbelievable. If she tried twerking, the earth would shake. The Minotaur would be rattling his chains again. It was unbelievable to see this heffalump. And I just thought, oh yeah, I'm sure the criminal element are shitting themselves. I remember saying that same thing when someone posted a photo of a load of pirate blokes when I went on my first tour of Northern Ireland, and they showed us a video, like I guess the intelligence call lot, like, oh, we do have pictures of them, practicing. And it's like two fat, middle-aged, 50-year-old fat blokes walking through a woods with an AK-47. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure the SAS is shit in the pants, yeah. I'm a fit as a fiddle 20-year-old bootneck. I'm terrified of a 50-year-old fat bloke with a Jack Russell and a shotgun. Yeah, shit in my pants. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Crikey, you're up to 600 already. First things first, I want to cover a news story that my missus sent me, because we were just having breakfast and she knows what to do to get me riled up before I come on stream, because she just dropped this chestnut on me and instantly I was rad-G'd. I'm trying not to swear as much because I've actually got a monetized channel now. They do send me money occasionally. Not much, but I'm trying not to lose. I mean, if you can get $500 a month for now, you might as well, eh? So plus, let's be honest, I swear a bit too much, don't I? I'm sure I could improve my vocabulary a little bit by refraining from using foul language. If anything, I can come up with another few dozen swear words for shagging. So I'll come up with some more synonyms. But my missus sent me this story about, where is it? It was on my bloody Facebook page a minute ago. Hang on. Suffice it to say, it's ludicrous like everything is nowadays. And it's new rules for Americans wanting to travel to tourists go to Europe. I'll just Google it. US tourists travelling to Europe starting November 2024. Here it is, look. Here. Look at this. This is just more of the same lunacy in upside down world that we live in. So look at this here. Share this tab instead. There we are. Right. You really couldn't make this shit up, right? In the last 10 years, I could reel off the death and destruction and chaos caused by unvetted migrant men. I could reel it off. I'd be here all year. Let's just do like 10. I'll just do 10 big ones I can think of, right? Charlie Hebdo, Notre Dame got burnt to the fucking ground. Nice truck attack, that was a bad one. Wasn't it? About 200 people got squashed like hedgehogs on the M1. What else have we had? We had the Brussels bombing. We had the train bombing. That was a big one. We've had the Bataclan. We had a big shooting and bombing in Berlin as well, didn't we? We had a Christmas market killing. We've had that terror attack last weekend at a music festival. It's just been unending chaos, especially in France, thanks to the lads from the snack bar, right? And these maniacs have now said, I'll blow that up a little bit so you can read it easier. New entry requirements for Americans travelling to Europe starting November 2024. Yeah, one thing that we've got in common from all of those awful attacks I've just reeled off? Not a single one of them was ever carried out by an American. Andy Barrett and Ayrton Senna, cheers, mate. I marvel at how poor some people's attention spans are these days, when the media can lie to our faces and they either lap it up or shrug with a vacant gaze, gaslighting without a major effort. It's unbelievable. And when I was ranting earlier about that lass at work being ignorant, didn't even know Benito Mussolini was. And then there was a lad asking me about EDM music, saying he was banging to it. He's like 27. I said, oh, you like EDM? Brits are the best at that. I said, have you never heard of OLM? Sorry, no, not OLM. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, OMD. And he went, no, I never heard of them. I said, oh, Google them. I said, you'll love them. I said, Enola Gay. And he went, what? And I went, Enola Gay. And he went, gay? And I was like, no, not George Michael Elton John Gay. It was the name of the bomber that dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And he didn't get any of it. He didn't know Enola Gay or OMD or the plane. He didn't even know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's like, what do they teach kids in school nowadays? I know you just turn into your dad, but I literally tried to get this kid onto some good tunes, and he thought I was propositioning him in a homosexual manner. So yeah, amazing. What's this? Richard Errington's just joined. Richard Errington, well done, Richard. You sensible devil. Thank you. Carl Popple, no comments from Carl, but you always make me laugh out loud. Good man. Cheers. The praise does cheer me up a little bit. It almost knocks a millimetre of blood out of my rage boner. So, keep the praise up, and I might finally get a little bit of a flop on while I'm doing the BBC Spews. Because other than that, I'm just punching holes in my desk, tent pegging my shorts 24/7. So yeah, can't be helped. The new entry requirements for Americans travelling to Europe starting November 2024. Actually unbelievable, this. It says, for many years, Americans have enjoyed easy access to Europe without stringent checks or the need for specific entry permits. In Charles de Gaulle and Paris and Fumico and Rome, travellers could even utilise e-gates. However, beginning November 2024, there will be new entry requirements in response to modern challenges. This is what I'm saying. Do you never feel like you're taking crazy pills? Like I said, like you honestly think you're the only sensible man in the room. The response to illiterate goat-shagging tribesmen from the world's scruffiest countries, right? In response to Captain Phillips, I am the captain now. In response to him, the picking on Will Smith, right? He lives in a castle in Bel Air. Dun, 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 dun. Well, this is a story all about how I am the captain now. He didn't shoot anyone. He didn't take and engage in any acts of piracy on the high seas. Dr. Huxtable didn't stab any women in the face in Paris. Why are they making it hard for Americans to go to Europe in response to modern challenges like security threats? Why? Does anyone... In fact, didn't they make a film about a terrorist attack that was stopped by Americans? So from all those stories that I reeled off, all 10 of them, where there was all this death, not a single one of them was an American. And the only time Americans were involved in terror attacks, they were stopping them. And if those young Yank lads hadn't intervened on that train, Johnny Jihadi would have probably claimed about another 80 lives. There's another 80 lives to add to the butcher's bill. So as I keep telling you, to anyone that will listen, the conspiracy theorists have been proved right. Not only are they hopelessly inept, they always do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be doing. I keep telling you, it's anarcho-tyranny. And to people like us that read history books, and we know what Enola Gay is, and we know the names of atomic bombs, and we know people like Idi Amin and Pol Pot and Chairman Mao and Stalin and Mussolini and Vidkun Quisling. We know all these names and places and dates because we're not ignorant pigs like the woke who don't learn anything after about 1973, and they only read Shiite from people like Michel Foucault, who was a postmodernist commie activist who liked rogering 8-year-olds, right? That's the only stuff they learn. So while we're reading books about the Great Leap Forward, they're doing rails off a bent copper's dick like Owen Jones, right? So they don't know anything. You're reading books, they're tapping out some Colombian cuckoo dust on a bent copper's scrotum. This is why we're cleverer than them. And as I said, this is why you don't let them talk down to you. So the short version is, none of this is new or even surprising. So this is why I can laugh about it, because I'm expecting it. It's funny, really, Because if you understand history, you understand prophecy. It always repeats. And this is just more of the same. Anarcho-tyranny is a thing. As I said, it's kind of mind-blowing to have read that stuff years ago and now to see it playing out in real time. Because how right was Solzhenitsyn? All these super clever people write all these books. How right were they? Solzhenitsyn's dead famous quote was something along the lines of, when the thief, the mugger, the crook, the career misanthrope has the knife, it's acceptable because he's a product of his environment. It's not his fault he's got the knife because it's the system that's broken. But when you have the knife, you're a terrorist and you cannot be tolerated. And that is exactly what we're getting. Like I keep telling you, Yuri Bezmenov, there's another good one. Everything that told us comes true. So that's what I mean. It's not even surprising. That's why it's funny, because we saw it coming 50 miles away. And like I keep telling you lot, and I know this pissed Sadwings off after Biden stolen his position, but we do deserve it. And Solzhenitsyn was so sanguine about his ill treatment, which is why he's a personal hero to everyone who's read his book. He was sanguine about it. He was like, we deserve it. If you tolerate it for long enough to get its talons into you, you deserve it. You deserve what you get. So we deserve what we're getting. So you just have to suck it up. And when it gets really, really shit, you have to suck it up like the guard's baby batter when you're trying to bribe him for an extra bar of soap. You have to snarf it down and love it because we get what we deserve. We get what we deserve. Oh, don't even start me on that. As I've ranted about this loads of times, so I don't want to repeat myself. But how right was he? That needs to make a glorious comeback, that. Anglo-Saxon. Have a bevy on me, Matt. Thanks, mate. Doing my best to keep you all sane while I completely lose my mind. It's, as I've said before, when I was in high school and we learned about Pinochet and right-wing dictators and stuff, Saddam Hussein even, you remember, because, it was like Desert Storm was 91, wasn't it? I remember talking to my history teacher, Mr. Willis, who's a good teacher, about it. And you sort of didn't understand why our governments played along with the right-wingers. You were like, if Pinochet was so bad, why did they even tolerate it? Why did Reagan and Thatcher turn a blind eye to them? Why did we do deals with Saddam and Assad as well? Assad's another good example. And then you realise when you really start putting all this together, because your knowledge starts to increase, you realise why. Because at least with a right-winger, you've got a functioning society. Everybody slags off Mussolini, but the reason that joke people say about, even that fat oaf Mussolini got the buses running on time is because they did. Like, the things that they did to their economies, it was profound, because at least when those wankers are in charge, you've got a functioning country. Anyone who understands anything knows that if you have to pick something, you got to go for the right-wing dictator, haven't you? Like, if you could pick right now to live in Pinochet's nation, or, you talk about them at the height of the powers, or Castro's, you'd go with Augusto every time, wouldn't you? You go with Augusto every time because the alternative's way worse. And now I know why we tolerate them. Because the alternative's 10 times worse. Chile was better off when he was in charge than it has been ever since, I think. And, occasional helicopter ride. Not so good. But at least people don't starve to death. Because they always starve to death. All the time. To think that today's treasonous corporate commie politicians want to take us back to the Stone Age, it's a sin against it. It's unbelievable. And as I said, ignorance is no excuse. So let's just pull it out the air. I don't know the numbers. How many people do we think Pinochet killed? Like, surely he only targeted the most extra. I'm not saying he should have killed anyone, obviously, right? I'm a Thatcherite libertarian, but what I'm saying is you do understand why they turned a blind eye to it, because it's better, it's preferable. If you're a pragmatist, and a leader of men should be a pragmatist, it's better. He probably killed like a couple of thousand people tops, like the worst commie dissidents. But when you instigate commie shit and everyone ends up in the Google, everyone starves to death. So they all go on about Pinochet. Oh my God, Pinochet. Look at his death toll compared to Stalin or Mao. Mao made Adolf look like an amateur. Mao, what's the estimate for Mao? 70 million? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So you can see why. I wish Mr. Willis, he was a good teacher. Obviously, he wasn't going to put it in terms as starkly as that and say to a bunch of 15-year-old Middlesbrough lads, yeah, he was all right, Augusto. He's not going to be quite as blatant about it. But you definitely understand why we do deals with the likes of Assad and Saddam and Pinochet, because it's way worse. If you're and I would be a pragmatist because I'm a pragmatist in life. Oh, there you go. So Andy's just Googled it. 12 to 3, yeah. So, I mean, they kill 20 million and go, hey, want to make an omelette? You got to break some eggs. 1,200 blokes. Happy days. To have a functioning country. Middlesbrough only went on the quest for fire. Yeah, well, that's not right, Stephen, because I'll have you know the police station in Middlesbrough has been on fire for 4 years without ever going out. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. We've the everlasting flame glows atop the mountains of Middlesbrough. What's this? Franco even got a Balenciaga store open in Paris. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Franco. There's another good one. Franco massively turned around the Spanish economy. He took them from a nation of starving rabbit eaters to an economic powerhouse. Like, they always get the economy ticking over. Because they go, if you don't work, you don't eat, knobhead. Which seems fair to me. I'm sick of working. I'm sick of pulling my pudding out to pay for scruffy Venezuelans to come over and stab grannies outside Walmart. So, hey, I'm down with it. I'm down with it. Every year you take a couple of steps to the right if you read books. Because it's astounding. And as I said, the other mad thing is, because the commies are all brain dead, they have to tell themselves that you're lying. And I'm not lying. When I tell them I was a Bernie bro like 10 years ago, they just assume you're lying. Like, no, you've always been a Trumper. Yeah, but there was no Trump 10 years ago. Yeah, but you were a secret fascist. Whatever. You know what I mean? You can't argue with them. So if they're not going to believe you, what can you do with that? As I said, they make out like it's a long game. Like when Tulsi Gabbard was a 19-year-old, liberal socialist and spent 10 years being Bernie's best mate and then 20 years with the Democrat Party. They're like, no. Really, she was a secret plant by a covert Gestapo organisation and she was just playing the long game. They don't go, yeah, you just changed your mind because you learned about communism and you see what it reeks all around the world. Anyway, so that's enough ranting about it, but this is just hilarious to me. So from November, American passport holders must participate in additional measures when travelling to Europe, and you have to undergo fingerprinting. Well, don't go to Europe then. Don't go to Europe. Any Americans watching, trust me, the glory days are over. Americans have this really idealistic view of Europe. Oh, I want to gaze upon the Eiffel Tower hand in hand with my true love. Mate, you're going to see a Somalian man curling one out underneath that rust bucket Eiffel Tower that they've let go. Basically, if I had my day, we'd invade the French, put them to the sword and, turn the Eiffel Tower into tanks. That's a good idea. Melt it down, turn it into like, how many M1 Abrams would we get out of the Eiffel Tower? Like 20? Good investment. Good investment. Wow, 20 quid. I think that's the most I've ever had in the history of streaming. I'm almost like a proper streamer when I'm getting 20 nicker. Thanks, Jason. That'll buy me, well, let's think. Drink the cheapest shite imaginable. That'll buy me 50 cans, that. Get in. Nice one. Cheers, mate. Yeah, invade. Turn the Eiffel Tower into slag and we'll make tanks out of it. We'll keep that. So that is beyond a joke, that. You can't make that up, can you? Never ever has an American killed anyone in France, Germany, Spain, Italy as an act of terror. All they've done is stop terror. So they're making it harder for them to get in, but they're making it easier for you, anti-captain now, to get in. And that makes loads of sense. Communism only killed, 100 million. Pfft, only 100 million. What's 100 million between friends that weren't doing it properly? They're going to get it right the next time. It's only 100 million. Dead babies? No. Sorry, it's only 100 million. It's fine. They'll get it right next time. Of course they will. Hunger Striker in Blackpool. I haven't heard about that one. So anyway, sorry, let's just wrap this up and I'll go on to something new. So that's brilliant. This is what I'm telling you. Art or tyranny. The mugger, the Somalian who hacks your wife to death with a meat cleaver, it's not his fault, it's the system's fault. Totally fine. Let him out after 2 years and give him a council house. But if you, 52-year-old granny, have a pop of Keir Starmer, have a few glasses of wine because you're upset because a load of little girls have just been killed in the face and say, pop the bastard dingies, 3 years in jail. Definitely fair and reasonable. They'll let a full-on killer out in Newcastle. I showed you the pictures on a video 2 weeks ago. Hacked a teenage boy to bits, just butchered him in the street, and he got out in 6 months. So they're making space in the prisons, they're ditching, get out murderer, tipping him into the street like they're just emptying a lawnmower. Yeah, there you go, murderer. See you later. Hope you forgot your rusty machete. Don't forget that. Oi, tweeter, get in here. 8 to a cell, you twats. It's like you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. Ho Chi Minh, let's not forget about him. We're reeling them all off today. Ho Chi Minh. Of course, I wouldn't forget about Ho Chi Minh, mate. What do you think? I am ignorant. Rick, cheers to Angry Bootneck from a drunken Matlaw. Oh, Matlaws are all right. Matlaws are all right, really. Still can't drink as much as a Bootneck, though, can you? I'm sure you can't, Rick. We'll have to put that to the test whenever I get back. If I ever get back. My boss is a slave driver. I'll aim for next year. I'll aim for January, I think. We'll see. So yeah, that is anarcho tyranny in action. Once again, Alex Jones getting proved right. The laws for thee and not for me will make it easier for Osama bin Laden's nephew to get in, and we'll make it harder for Chuck T. Oysterberger 3 from Texas, who is a patriot, and if he was lucky enough to see the AK-47 wielding terrorist attackers on Charlie Hebdo marching down the streets in Paris, getting the rounds down, he'd be tent pegging his shots. He'd love that. And he'd jump into action and he'd do his level best to save the women and children. So you definitely want to make it harder for him to go, don't you? Definitely. What's the other story I wanted to do? Let's have a look. I saved some of them on my Twitter page. It's just mental. There's just every day now, there's like mad shit that blows my mind. Angela Rayner, absolute howler. They're all having a go, right, saying, oh, look, why can you take the picture? We put Angela Rayner on, here we are. They're all having a go, right, because Angela Rayner was dancing. And, like, I'm not going to be funny, but the reason I'm having a go at Angela Rayner, not only because she's got a nose like a builder's elbow, and she's an absolute gipper, I'm having a go at Angela Rayner because I think it's the most cheap, obvious political machination I've ever seen in my life, right? She's older than me, and I stopped going to nightclubs when I was about 28, and I went to Millennium in Middlesbrough, whatever it was, and I finally walked in and realised, when I looked around, that I was the oldest baldy bastard in there, and with love handles and thinning hair, and everyone in there was in their teens and early 20s. And I went, yeah, it's a bit cringe, this. So I'm not saying that a woman shouldn't be allowed to dance on her holidays, but what I'm saying is it's just another pointless, cheap political stunt from the ginger growler. It's cringe. You don't dance with the DJ when you're 45 years old, you silly ginger bint. So, yeah. Matt Smith, give me a diver as well. Thanks very much, Matt. Cheers, mate. Not the Doctor Who one, I'm assuming. He's got to be an absolute soy boy, Matt Smith, the Doctor Who one. So that's brilliant, that, innit? So we're not taking the piss out of her for dancing. We're taking the piss out for being yet another disturbingly political animal. Richard Medhurst's funny. He's a massive supporter of Alan's lads, and now they've arrested him as well. So I sent him a message and said, hey, mate, you do realise you're just the very definition of a useful idiot. Like, you lads empowered this lot. Oh, I better not show that. If you show people getting filled in by the regulars at Alan's snack bar, you get in trouble with YouTube. So, can't have any fun. That was amazing. Lunatics setting the kitchen on fire. Love that. There's loads of good shit on Twitter. I love it. Peter Hitchens schooling people, as usual. Let's see what I replied to. Let's have a look what I replied to. Oh, yeah, here's one. Yvette Cooper. Remember Yvette Cooper when she went absolutely ballistic about the people who complained about little girls getting killed in the face, but didn't really seem to mind too much when Abu Hamza was getting a new titanium hook every week? Brad James, I pronounce the G in Angela Rayner phonetically. What, like Angela Merkel? I suppose she's a bit like Angela Merkel. She's about as likeable as that little fat dumpling. She looked like a dumpling, didn't she, Angela Merkel? If you look like, like a suet dumpling you get stuck on your mince when you're having a dinner as a kid. That's what Angela Merkel looked like. Little wrinkled up ball of dough. She was a dumpling. Dumpy the dumpling. Angela Merkel. So Yvette Cooper's kicking off because 2 people died at Notting Hill. Well, we told you so, didn't we? We told you so. As far as I'm concerned, from looking at all the chew that took place at the Mayor of London's glorious parade, Cher Maximen and Musi Imanumwetu, it sounds to me, from looking at the demographics, that they were basically doing a dirty Harry there and, doing the taxpayers a favour. Doing the taxpayers a solid, because Musi Imanumwetu was probably one bad day away from marching into a Lloyd's bank with a pair of tights over his head and a sawn-off shotgun. So I think they've done the taxpayers a favour there. They should just ban the Notting Hill Carnival. It costs 20 million to police. What do we get out of that? And I was just having a go at Yvette because she's an absolute plank. What have I replied to lately? Let's have a look. How many lunatics are on Twitter as well? I don't know why there was a woman in lingerie setting a kitchen on fire. Is that what people... Do people like watching birds in lingerie set things on fire? Is that... I know nowadays, because everyone's a degenerate pervert who does loads of drugs and is mentally ill. So there's a lot of fetishes that are sort of weird. When we were kids, foot fetishes were weird. Now, you get blokes being like, oh, would you mind wearing lingerie while you set your house on fire and I pull myself off? I'm well into that. Yeah, arson pornography. That's right up my alley. That. Would you cheese grate my plums whilst pouring petrol on a bush and setting a minor conflagration? That's what I'm into. Yeah, it's 2024. Get with the program. We're all absolute deviants. How can I see when I reply to what is it? Here we are. Because this gets me to stuff. Basically, when someone says something absolutely ridiculous, I reply to it, and that reminds me of things. Oh, here's me sticking up for Oasis again. I know you lot don't like Oasis. I know you lot don't. I was actually listening to them earlier, Listen Up, and I like this song. I was listening to it. I was like, look at these lyrics. It's strangely poetic, isn't it? Because they were sort of very prophetic about what was going to come. Day by day, there's a man who says, in a suit, who said he's going to make you pay for the words they won't let you say. Very prophetic. They knew what was coming. But this twat here, Russ Jones, look at him. If I was to sit down with just my pen and a pad and someone said, draw me a registered sex offender, this is what I'd come up with. A bloke in a daft jumper with NHS specs on and a big daft beard and no chin. So that's just what they are. But it annoys me because the thing I was responding to there, he said, don't be sad. You can create your own Oasis gig at home. Stand 2 immobile action figures at the end of your garden, drink some warm beer and play a Slade single at 33 RPM. Wrong, completely. But I pointed out, the reason I really hate all these people, the woke hate Oasis, because Oasis, even if you don't like the music, I know a lot of you don't, it's fine. It's fine. You don't have to like each other's music, do you? Although I will say, it's strange how people never grow out of being a hipster, whereby if a band becomes big, you have to hate them. Somebody in my comments on my YouTube video last week actually said, with what I assume is a straight face, Reef were better than Oasis. Right? I was into Britpop. I remember all them bands, and I liked dozens of them. Almost nothing that anybody typed in the chat and said they preferred, I didn't hate. I like a Pulp were fucking great. The Charlatans were class. The Manic Street Preachers. Who else did I listen to when I was that age? The Manic Street Preachers, Stereophonics. There was loads of good ones. Stone Roses were hoofing. But Reef, better than Oasis. As far as I'm aware, they only had 2 songs, didn't they? It was like, put your hand on, put your hand on. Remember that one, the long-haired bloke? You can't tell me Reef were better than the Oasis. And none of them, a lot of people said stuff like Elastica or Suede. Nowhere near. Like them or hate them, they did some banging rock songs. That Wall of Sound, Ocean Colour Scene, they were class. That Wall of Sound, some of their tunes are bangers. They've done 24 class tunes, them. Their B-sides, when I was a teenager growing up, you used to buy their singles, even if you had the albums, because the B-sides were so good. The average Oasis single B-sides were better singles than 98% of the shite other people used to put out. They were good, and I know people don't like them because anyone over the age of 45 is convinced they're shite. But yeah, Lightning Seeds were good. Judas Priest are good, like Judas Priest. Breaking the law, that's Judas Priest, right? Painkiller, I like Painkiller the best by Judas Priest. Manics were absolutely class, the Shame, and there's loads of good shit. Space were decent as well. I quite liked Space. Scousers, weren't they? Point is, it was a fantastic era. We'll just leave it at that. We can agree on that, can't we? There was dozens of fantastic Britpop bands in the 90s. It was its own genre, and it was fantastic time to be a kid. And the reason the left hate them is because they were authentic working class lads. And Noel Gallagher gave a great little speech about this when he was doing a podcast, and he said, at the end of the day, they've stitched the entertainment industry up now. So they all think the same, and they all act the same, and they all talk the same. And you must see that this is true, because every single one of them has the same politics. All of them. They were all like, oh yeah, basically every single actor, singer, director, producer now, they're all woke. All of them. Oh, and Noel Gallagher said, we were just normal working class lads out for a good time getting pissed. And he said, and these record executives want people like Harry Styles who come out and they say, here, put this dress on that we're trying to sell. Put this £2,000 dress on and wear this for a photo shoot. Put this $5,000 jacket on and put that on for this photo shoot. And then shut your mouth and do your hair and impress the girls. And they weren't like that. Liam was a Larry pisshead. He used to be a prick. But so what? At least he was authentic. Jason, you must be a southerner because due to the old north-south divide, I love Blur. Probably one of my top 10 bands. Listen to Blur all the time. But nowhere near Oasis in the eyes of northerners. If you live north of York, nowhere near Blur. And when they were having that battle of the bands, that fake battle of the bands to sell more singles, obviously we all went out and bought Roll with it because it was Oasis for Blur. But they are a fantastic band. Again, though, compared to Oasis, Damon Albarn and them, they are posh boys. They are much posher. They actually were from a council estate in Manchester. So, you know, they were a little bit artsy, Blur. But I do like them. Again, one thing I'd say to the people who are having a pop with me because they hate Oasis, if you didn't buy records by people you don't like, you'd never buy a record. John Lennon was a wanker, wasn't he? And everyone loves the Beatles. John Lennon was a prick. Absolute arsehole to his kids. They're all wankers. Liam Gallagher's a bit of a wanker. No, the wankers. But if you get rich, you get arrogant. Fine. You don't have to like people to buy the records. Oh, Burnley, well, that's southern, isn't it? Well, it is to a chippy lad from the northeast. Yeah, but I do like Blur. Really great band. Just not quite as good. If you were to pick the 10 best singles between Oasis and Blur, it wouldn't even be close. Like, The Universal's probably one of the best songs ever written. But Oasis, even to this day, is one of the only bands where when I'm in the kitchen doing the pots and I say, Alexa, play Oasis or whatever band, that's the only band where I never skip one. Oasis have done, try it when next time you're on your Alexa. They did like 25 class songs, Oasis. Better than Blur. But Blur were fucking great. Oasis got filled in your hometown. Well, I'm sure they're not hard lads, they're just normal lads. It's not like Liam and Noel Gallagher are built like a brick shithouse. I mean, I'm pretty confident I could fill them in. But they're not there to be tough guys. They're not cage fighters, they're musicians. What's this? You hated Blur as a company? Oh no, Janet Street Corner. I hate her. She gets NHS gigs as well. How come NHS gigs are in fashion now? When I was a kid, you had to have trendy, thin frames. Now everyone's wearing NHS gigs. That's a weird thing. Bob Hunter, thanks for the $5. If it wasn't for the British Empire, most of the world would still be living in the Dark Ages. Hey, you're not going to get any disagreement from me. I'm not a moral or historical relativist. As I've said, I refuse to apologise for the British Empire. At the end of the day, anyone who knows anything knows that the Native Americans were all murdering each other all the time. They didn't live in harmony with nature. Yeah, they were shagging holes in trees and scalping each other. The Aboriginal people were bumming the cousins and rogering kangaroos. And apparently music involved blowing through a fucking stick. I think when at the height of the Napoleonic era, all of the big nations should have got together, shook hands, and then just divvied the entire world up into 5. Like the Spanish, the Brits, the Americans, the Portuguese, the French. We should have just took over the entire world. I'm that much of a Western snob, and I'm aware that that's controversial. Jamiroquai, he was class and all. I listen to Jamiroquai's singles collection quite often. And of course, the beaded one, the Arctic Monkeys. I'm in total agreement with Gallagher there because he said the Arctic Monkeys were the last great guitar band, and that's when the corporate woke suits took over the entire world. The Arctic Monkeys are fantastic. I had their first album in me. I think I had a mini disc player at the time. I had the first album in there for about 8 months, and I must have listened to that for a year. Fantastic band. But they don't make them like that anymore. Now it's Harry Styles. Hey kids, yeah, wear a dress and suck your granddad off. Yeah, that's pop music. Cheers, mate. You're all right. You're right. I'll just listen to shit from the 90s. This is a good thing about being an old bastard now. You don't have to move with the times. I just stick with what I already know. I don't think I've listened to anything new for about 12 years. My missus was laughing because she was telling me, Radiohead, fuck it, amazing. Fake plastic trees, almost enough to put a lump in my throat, and I'm a miserable bastard. What a great banging tune that is. Sam Smith, yeah. Unbelievable, the stuff. Well, do you remember I made a video about him a couple of years back? unbelievable, just full-blown perversion. I wonder if it's still up. That might be one that YouTube banned. I'm going to have a quick look because I'm curious if this one got banned. Oh, there we go. It's still up. I'll tell you what, we can watch it for a little bit so I can have a drink of water and rest my vocal cords. Yeah, it's still up, look. Here we are. I found it. I found it. Look at this. I found it. This is Sam Smith on telly here. Sponsored by Pfizer. And then his music video after that was even worse, where he was like, people were swamping on him. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like, so this is, if I'm a little bit, what would be the term? If I'm a little bit sentimental about Oasis, it's because of that. Some massive, obese thing wanking a bloke off with his ass. It's unbelievable. Well, okay, there's me getting demonetised again. I'm pretty certain terms like wanking a bloke off with your ass is definitely against the rules. Prodigy were class as well. Class. Anyway, that's enough talk. You've all got me sidelined with music. Let's do one more proper news story, shall we? Anyone got any suggestions before I just pick one at random off Twitter that I replied to? Let's have a look. All the fathers are tool makers. Dead people at the Notting Hill Carnival. It's all the same shit. Shall I just have a look at the BBC? Still reading about Israel. Who cares? Kamala Harris. What a lunatic. Can't believe I wouldn't trust her to run me a bath. Norway's princess weds an American shaman. They love telling you this stuff because they know it winds people up, don't they? Here it is. Look at that story on the BBC. Princess Martha Louise weds American shaman. Yeah. Some baldy. He looks like Baron Zamadi. I bet her dad's gutted. Yeah. Going out with a raving lunatic. Happy days. In the last 10 years, music has been shit. It has, Jason. I agree with you. Hardly any. No, well, like I said, Noel Gallagher was right, wasn't he? The last great guitar band was the Arctic Monkeys. We've had an out since. We're just done. But it's mental. And like I said, it's because they've took over. The power man's globalist psychopaths will not let you have anything. That's what I'm telling you. They will not let you have anything. They will take everything from you. Everything you like. They'll conscript your kids, stop you going for a tab, stop you drinking, living in a one-bedroom apartment, eating your cricket paste, doing as you're told, CCTV everywhere. This is what I've told you. Anyone who's read Orwell and Huxley and history books, they know what's coming. And this is why I've been black-pilled for years. I don't see how we avoid it when the normies will be kept just comfortable enough to not kick off. Everyone jokes about, because I've made the joke about the Gobbletron, that's what you're going to have. As long as you're cool when you're hot, and hot when you're cool, when you want to be hot, shelter, food, water, and an internet connection, and the Gobbletron 3000, you're going to be comfortable enough where you're not going to kick off, you're not going to risk life and limb. So that's the future. I've told you, Edgar Friendly, Demolition Man was a documentary. Demolition Man was a documentary. That's what's coming. That's how we're going to be living. It's going to be everything regulated. You're not allowed to shag your missus. You've got to plug a headset in because you might catch VD. Because that was one thing. I ranted out in my last video, but seriously, this idea that it's the government's job to keep you safe is ludicrous. Anyone who's read Jordan Peterson's book knows this about safety. It's the worst thing you can sell someone, safety. And he wrote about it. A parent's job is not to keep you safe. It's to get you ready for life without them. That's the number one job of a parent. Keeping people safe all the time makes them mentally ill. Bob Hunter, £2. Cheers, mate. I wish I was an ostrich. You've threw some money at me today, Bob. That one is short but sweet. But there's no point in putting your head in the sand. I told you the right thing to do is to watch it all coming and find it funny. Like I said to you, if Solzhenitsyn could keep his sense of humour in the gulags for 10 years, then we can manage it. But it's gonna be shit, right? That's what I keep telling you. Don't ever become a protester. I know I'm in disagreement with some of you. It has to get bad. It has to get to the point where the normies will rise up and do something about it, and they won't. So don't get yourself arrested. Don't be daft enough to stick your head above the parapet. Go for a pint and watch the world go by and slowly embrace the shite. But there's no point. There's no point in crying about it and, turning completely away from society. It's going to kick off. Eventually you'll get freedom. It always happens eventually, but it has to kick off first. So while we're still in the early stages like this, there's no point marking yourself out for a 2-year jail sentence for putting stickers out. Just crack on and find it funny. Do not kick off. It's daft. Exactly right. Another famous quote by one of the founding fathers, right? But it's totally true. So yeah, I'll rant about that for a bit and then we'll call it there because I'm starting to lose my voice a bit. So to sum up, the globalist psychopaths are doing to Musk in Brazil what they're doing all around the world. They're just a little bit more careful about it in Brazil, in the UK and in the EU. And in the United States, under Kamala Sutra, she could suck a golf ball through a garden hose and she used that talent to get all the way on the steps of the White House. Credit to her for using the gifts she was given, but she is still a raddled spunk bowser who I wouldn't trust to run me a fucking bath or run a lemonade stand in my front garden. I wouldn't trust her to walk my Jack Russell round the block without somehow feeding it into a wood chipper. She's an imbecile. And at the end of the day, this is what's going on. Under the preface of safety, they will take everything from you. Don't let people tell you that it's for your own good or they're keeping you safe. They're not keeping you safe. They're keeping you controlled. They're keeping you on a leash. It's bollocks. Oh, we have to do this for the NHS. We have to do this for the NHS. How many freedoms do you want to give up for the NHS? Protect the NHS. The NHS is supposed to protect you, thick twat. You paid for it for the last 20 years. What do you mean, protect the NHS? This idea that, we'll just stop drinking for the NHS, stop smoking for the NHS, stop shagging for the NHS. So I'm saying it's Demolition Man. It's Demolition Man. What a Bowser is, Kate. It's one of them big things that carries petrol in it. Spunk Bowser. I thought I told that story. It reminds me of a mate of mine, actually, because the guy who told me it's dead now. Bless him. Lad called Rob Deering. It's good saying old jokes like this, though, because, as long as you say the name, they're never really dead. Rob Deering was a bootneck who died. He was a VM, and he talked me out of going on a VM's course. And he got killed in Iraq. Stood on an IED when he was repairing a vehicle. And he told me a joke that I still remember it well because he had a Brummie accent. And he said he was invited to a family dinner and he said he'd been talking his missus out of joining the RAF because he said he didn't want her to join up. And he said they had a family dinner and all the family were dead proud of her. And he said he sat down like not expecting it, all blindsided him. And the dad went, "We've got a very special announcement to make, Robert. She's going to join DRAF. And he said all the family were like, yeah. And Rob said, he was like, fuck's sake. He said, she's going to be a spunk Bowser. That's where the term, the first time I ever heard the word spunk Bowser was Rob Deering. God bless his soul. Vehicle mechanic, sad wings. Obviously, in a commando unit, you get people pinged to do every job. So you can do like a 26-week VM course to maintain the small amount of vehicles you use at a commando unit. Yeah, so that's where the term spunk Bowser comes from. If you want to know the origin of the tale. And yeah, anyway, so short version is they're going to use the preface of safety to take everything from you. It's the oldest play in the book. It's been done in time and time and time again, and they'll always do it that way. So now the thin end of the wedge is, oh, you've got to stop smoking for the NHS. And then they'll wait a few years. It's like, got to stop drinking for the NHS. Got to stop eating pies for the NHS. Got to stop skateboarding for the NHS. Got to stop surfing for the NHS. And the next thing you're going to be, Demolition Man, 40-year-old virgin, mother's basement, Oscar Wiener pyjama, Oscar Wiener commercial, shagging your mentally ill, antidepressant adult girlfriend via the medium of a virtual reality headset. Tongue in fresh air instead of a shit box like you're supposed to when the world was sane and a little bit filthy. Yeah, so there you go. Brilliant. Love that. Can't wait. Can't wait. At least Pizza Hut won the Great Food War, because I quite like pizza. Oh no, it was Taco Bell in it. I think they changed it when it went to the cinemas in the UK, didn't they? Anyway, all right. I'm going to call it there because I'm starting to lose my voice a bit. I guess when you shout as loudly and speak as quickly as I do, it's you lose your voice quicker than most. Yeah, so much to look forward to. But as I said, it'll be funny and it'll give me plenty of material. So there is that. There is that. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Cheers for all the super chats and the booze. Rest assured I will spend it on cans the neat. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. I'll make sure I have a video up on Monday. And yeah, keep smiling. If nothing else, it will be funny, all right? And we can chuckle along together. See you soon. Toodle pip. Take it easy. Cheers.